Okay, I'll run through some names on the Oilers roster. You tell me if they're back next season.
Okay.
Mike Smith. I know he signed, but did they try to do something there?
I think you got to move on from Smith, don't you?
Or at least try to. I think
you got to try.
Someone brought up Campbell for them.
I've seen that as well.
I'm like, that'd be pretty funny because, of course, he'd play.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, just,
back-to-back off seasons, the Oilers get Zach Hyman and Jack Campbell.
Just the most lovable players in the history of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Unbelievable. But I think if you bring Mike Smith back, I think the fan base might revolt.
Really? Well, I don't know. You tell me. You're more dialed into that stuff with like fan bases and all that. Like, is there like hatred towards Smith from Oilers fans?
I'm telling you, man, Oilers fans do not like Mike Smith.
You know what Smith is? And it's kind of hard to describe. He's kind of annoying. Just like how he is in the net, like how he exaggerates, like his body language, like when he makes a mistake or when he's upset. Like, goalies are supposed to be the opposite. Give me Carey Price. I remember last year watching, they had the camera on him when Kotkaniemi scored the winning goal against Toronto to push it to 7. Like, Price didn't flinch. Like, he just like grabbed his water bottle and skated off.
So calm and cool and collected.
Lets in a bad goal, just like picks the puck out of the net. Like he got a shot roofed on him, like from Connor McDavid. Same thing to him. So I don't know. I just find him kind of annoying and a little too much. I mean, I respect the guy. He's been in the league a long time. He's had a good career. And the fact that he's even still playing at his age is impressive. I don't know, but I didn't know Oilers fans. I mean, they just made the conference finals were like out pitchforks for Mike Smith. Or comment down below, Oilers fans. What do you think about Mike Smith? Move on, keep him, throw him to the wolves. What do you do?
Yeah, I'm confident in saying the majority of Oilers fans are sick of Mike Smith and are frustrated, honestly, because the same thing keeps happening with this guy. You go back to the first round against LA when he made that stick handling gaffe, coughs up the puck, led to a goal. The Oilers ended up losing that game. I can't remember exactly which game it was, but they were down 3-2 in that series to arguably the worst team of all 16 teams in the playoffs and barely got out of that round. And honestly, it was because of Connor McDavid. Like, he put the team on his back those last couple of games, especially in game 7. Like, if he doesn't do that, Edmonton's probably out in the first round. So, we can go up and down this roster and talk about some of the moves that need to be made. And I know you're going to bring up some other names to me on this Oilers team, but yeah, with Mike Smith, Lepore, I can't imagine that team wants to bring him back. And again, I know he has 1 year left on his deal. How about this? If you bring him back as the backup, I think that's sort of acceptable, but you can't go into another season with Mike Smith as your starting goalie. You just can't.
What's he making? Like 2 and change, something like that. I mean, that's an expensive backup. I have their cap sheet
open here. He's making 2.2.
Yeah, so that's an expensive backup. Interesting to see what they do. I mean, it's kind of similar to the Leafs, right? Like, develop a goalie. Be amazing if you developed a goalie. The next player I'll move on to, I think this is a hot topic. And again, Oilers fans, comment down below. I want to hear what you have to say. Evander Kane.
I am definitely trying to bring back Evander Kane.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to try. I think
he's a great player. And I said it at the time, despite all the baggage, all the shit that he was involved with throughout his career. And there's a lot of baggage there with that guy. But I said it at the time. I thought it was a great move for the Edmonton Oilers because
amazing. Yeah.
Because they were on the verge of missing the playoffs. And I believe at the time they signed Kane, they actually may have been sitting outside of a playoff spot.
You might be right. Yeah.
It was either they were outside by a few points or just barely hanging on to a wild card spot at the time. But I said it. I go, this guy's going to light it up, whether he's playing with McDavid or Draisaitl. And he was fantastic for them. Going over his numbers again, 13 goals and 17 points in 15 playoff games. And then in the regular season, he was also fantastic.
Yeah, he's amazing, bro. He's a great player. And
22 goals, 39 points in 43 games.
39 points in 43 games. That worries me too, because how my line, it only takes one stupid team. And I don't know, if someone said to me, and I think in his case, when you talk about players and contracts, of course there is the money, and the money is a big part of it. And it's shrinking as we move forward. But the importance of, the roster they're going into, the timing, the organization. If someone said to me, as far as Evander Kane goes and the situations he's dealt with, that it's all about money, I'd be like, okay, I'm not surprised at all. So like, I don't even know myself what number and term I'd be shocked with. Like if someone offered him 5 times 5, would you be shocked?
No, not at all.
So then keep going 6 times 6.
Like I think someone, because if you look at Kane's last contract, let me pull up his last contract. What was
like
he
6 times
here?
6 times 6, 6.5
it
or
was,
something.
6 years, $5.25 million per.
Oh, that low. Okay.
Sorry, no, that's wrong. That was his second last contract. Lepore, he's coming off a 7-year, $49 million deal.
So $7 million a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
A 7 times 7.
The big thing is term, I guess. Like how much term is a team willing to give him based on the baggage, like you said?
Yeah, it's definitely the term, right? Because I think that's what's going to scare teams off. Like, do you really want to commit 5+ years to a guy in his 30s who has that much baggage, despite what he just pulled off with the Edmonton Oilers? That's a scary situation. So I think he's gonna seek, honestly, Lepore, I think he's gonna seek minimum $7 million. I really do.
7,
based on his last contract with San Jose. I think Kane strikes me as the guy, and I could be totally wrong, where this dude is just he's gonna chase the bag.
He kind of has to, based on what happened. Like, having money problems, and like I wouldn't blame him. Like, hey, dude, you got to do whatever you got to do.
Like, whoever offers him the most term, the most money, I think that's where he's going. Honestly, it's simple as that. Maybe maybe it's a case where he says, "I'm in a great situation playing with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Let's run this back. Let me sign a 2-year deal, for $14 million or something like that." But but man, if Edmonton commits to him long term, I don't know. That's a scary situation. But I would love to have him back. I really would. I would just tread very carefully with that situation.
Yeah. The other one I'll throw out there, and it's not really a guy specifically, is game 1 of next season. Will we see a major change to their D? Well, one of those, Nurse isn't going anywhere, obviously. Like the other 3, is there a chance any of them are moved? I mean, CC just signed as well. I mean, Keith and Barry were acquired not that long ago. So is there any chance like their D, they make a move to make their D better?
That's a great question, because as you said, Nurse isn't going anywhere. He's sticky. Locked in for $9.25 million. Duncan Keith still has a year left on his deal at $5.5 million. Tyson Barrie, 2 years left at $4.5 million. And then Cody Ceci, 3 years left at $3.25 million. So what I want to see with this Oilers blue line is I want to see Evan Bouchard essentially just take over. And, maybe it's a little too soon to have him be like the go-to guy, especially when you're paying Darnell Nurse over $9 million a year. But I want to see a lot of minutes for Evan Bouchard. And I do think they're going to try to make some moves. Like, they could easily try to trade Tyson Barrie to let Evan Bouchard become like the go-to, no questions about it, power play quarterback. You're our offensive defenseman, go and run with it. Whereas having Tyson Barrie there, it's almost like the situation with like Morgan Riley and Tyson Barrie on the Leafs, how it's like they were trying to coexist and they kind of play a similar game.
So awful. That was so awful.
Yeah. So I think if maybe they try to move Tyson Barrie again, I have no insider knowledge on this. It's not like I've talked to, people in the Edmonton Oilers organization, but I would imagine that they maybe try to move him. I mean, Duncan Keith, who the hell is going to take Duncan Keith?
Yeah, such a weird deal.
He is on an expiring deal though. So maybe that helps the situation. I don't know. Maybe
how many years left?
Only 1 year.
Just the 1 year
Just
left.
The one at 5.5. As terrible as that cap hit is, maybe they can dump him and attach a draft pick to him or something to clear up some cap space.
What we're seeing in the league with teams trying to get to the floor and all that, like you never know. But again, they just acquired him. But I'm going to throw this one out there because this is a Leafs podcast and, we like to get chairs and shit and everything thrown at us. So McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nurse, you're in around $30 million. Okay. $30 million. Matthews, Marner, Riley, you're in around $30 million. Which trio would you rather have?
That's a great question. I will say that I'll take the Edmonton trio just because of the duo of McDavid and Draisaitl. But that Nurse contract, I said it at the time, Lepore. I'm pretty sure you had, very similar thoughts to me when that contract was first announced. That's a bad deal.
It's the highest paid defenseman in the league.
That is just absurd that he's making $9.25 million. He's a good player. Again, like Darnell Nurse, fully healthy, no.
Yeah, you had him on your Team Canada, right? I remember we did that episode. Yeah.
I did have him as one of my depth guys on Team Canada. I had him and Morgan Riley.
Yeah, me too. I don't think I had Nurse, but yeah, I had Riley. Yeah.
When we made those teams back when the Olympics were supposed to happen, when NHL players were supposed to go to the Olympics. But yeah, I think just because of that Nurse contract, it almost made me want to flip over to the Leafs side of it.
That makes it a debate because the whole thing of like that $2 million, it's like a McDavid Draisaitl versus Matthews Marner. Like it's close, but I think most people would say go on the Edmonton side.
Yeah.
But then you throw in that 1.75 million difference or whatever it is. Like, well, that makes it closer. But
like, I think Riley's a better player than Darnell Nurse.
I think most people would say that outside the state. I almost said outside of Alberta, but I'm sure Flames fans be quick to shit on Nurse.
Yeah, that's a tough contract, but I will go with the Edmonton trio just because of McDavid and Draisaitl, and especially Draisaitl, the contract he's on now. It's arguably the best contract in hockey.
Oh yeah,
maybe outside of McKinnon, who still makes like $6.3 million, which is insane.
Yeah, or Pasternak's is bananas too.
But yeah, that's I would definitely take that trio. Are there any other names you want to throw at me, or was that it?
Who else can you really say? Like Nugent Hopkins is signed. Like they've guys I like Hyman just signed. Like I like Yamamoto. Like I don't know. I think as far as the forward group goes, minus Kane, it's pretty steady. Like we know what it's going to be and what the future is going to look like. But I mean, talking points. It'd be interesting to see where how they approach the Kane situation and where he ends up. And I'd like to see him stay there. Like, let's do it. Like, let's watch again, rooting for the Oilers. So like, I'd love to see him stay, and he was a great fit. And these situations are so funny because like, here we are pushing for the money. But at the same time, you hope, and maybe I'm giving too much credit here, that he's got some self-awareness and his agent has some awareness that, okay, there is the money, but there's also who's gonna, I don't know what better way to put this, but who's gonna keep him on his best behavior. And I know that sounds super demeaning, but stuff has happened with this guy. There's been issues with this guy, both on and off the ice. I mean, by that, I mean with his teams. So if he's in a good situation in Edmonton where he's protected, he likes the guys he's playing with. You hear me say a million times that like guys do well when they're happy. He looks happy in Edmonton. So if it costs you a little bit of money to be happy and play well and play with good players, hopefully he takes it, man. Like I'm rooting for that deal to get done. If I had to bet, we'll do that game. What's the pie chart of Kane in Edmonton? I'd say it's pretty low. I'd say like 25-30%. He's back as an Oiler.
Really? I was going to say,
I think someone's going to do something stupid. I think someone's going to give him like an 8x4 or something. He's going to get big, like he's going to get overpaid is what I'm fearing.
I'll still put it at 50-50 just because I would like to believe he understands the situation that he's in right now, playing with those players in that top six. I hope that he sees like how much success he just had in the playoffs and in the regular season. And again, this is a dude that was the leading scorer for the San Jose Sharks in his final year with the Sharks as well. So I think Kane can put up numbers, pretty much anywhere as long as he's playing with good players. But it's not very often you get an opportunity to play with two generational talents.
Yeah. It's funny
it's a matter of if he goes to chase the money or not. That's what this is going to come down to.
Like here we are. It's going to be, I'm sure Edmonton wants him back. It's going to be about dollars. And we're in a cap world. Everyone deals with this. You just mentioned that Keith contract. Like that could cost them Kane.
Yeah.
That sucks. Like that sucks. We can't say, if they'd Keith at less money because they traded for him, but that's what costs you in the cap league, man.
It's a tough situation because they need a goalie as well. Like Mikko Koskinen is now an unrestricted free agent, and I can't imagine that he's going to be back. So they do have some money, but like you got to sign a goalie. You have all this money now locked up in Darnell Nurse. Another guy I'd like to see them bring back on the blue line is even Brett Kulak, who's an unrestricted free agent. I thought
He's
he
a
was
good
pretty
player.
solid for them.
Agreed.
But like, yeah, they got holes to fill, but it's not going to be that easy because a lot of their guys are locked in and they don't have a ton of flexibility.
Yeah, we have to look to see if anything's coming in. Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna lie and say I'm familiar with the Oilers prospect chart, but
They do have Dylan Holloway, who they inserted into the lineup in a desperation move in game 4. And I don't blame them. They were down 3-0 in the series. They needed a spark. Kane was suspended. So Dylan Holloway, first round pick, maybe he plays a factor next season. I don't know how big of a factor he's actually going to play. They have Stuart Skinner in net, who we saw in the regular season, was pretty solid for Edmonton. And then even some other guys on the blue line as well, like Philip Broberg, who a lot of Oilers fans viewed in the same light as Evan Bouchard. He hasn't, been as quick. He hasn't made an impact as quickly as Bouchard has, but he's also a former first round pick. So they got some guys in the pipeline, but still a lot of work to be done, Lepore. Let's move on, man.
Yeah,
we've talked about the Oilers long enough. Their fans probably, their fans always hate on us, and I'm sure they want to punch a hole.
Hey, you more than me. That's for sure.
Oilers fans can't stand me.
It's Canadians fans who hate me.
Habs fans hate me too. I mean,
yeah, but Habs fans kind of hate everyone's.
Yeah, good point. But yeah, Edmonton. Good luck. Good luck in the offseason. I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about when Ken Holland decides to make his first move of the offseason. We're going to fire up the podcast. And
I'm sure Kenny's pumped.